We are witnessing, or rather have witnessed, many would argue, the descent of Bengaluru, a city that was once known as India's boom city, when everyone was talking about how tech companies were setting up in this beautiful, beautiful city in Karnataka. What we're showing you is two covers of the India Today magazine. Once the city's charm, in fact, was its weather, was the beautiful, in fact, layout of the city, and it was called India's Boom City. What we're showing you is a 1983 cover of the India Today magazine. Today, look at what we're showing you, how to ruin India's best city. And between these two magazine covers, we've put out the entire story of Bengaluru. Potholes, waterlogged roads, flooding after any downpour at all. The city's poor civic infrastructure has been continuously exposed. We've covered it a great deal here on India Today. And today we do a deep dive to explain why the city of Bengaluru is the way it is today.
What was once known as the boom city is now plagued by poor infrastructure. Sudden flooding, inundated homes and pothole-riddled roads are haunting Bengaluru. Rich or poor, no one is spared by the civic horror, and shows how India's Silicon Valley is turning out to be.
Most experts think that the decline in Bangalore began after the information technology center, the IT sector exploded, and the population grew so rapidly that the city couldn't cope. But in my report that I did for India Today in 1983, a cover story that I did called The Boom City, Bangalore was booming long before the IT sector came.
In India Today magazine's cover story, our reporters dug deep to find out why Bengaluru is crumbling. Increasing population, administrative apathy, rampant corruption, unplanned construction have all played their role in pushing Bengaluru to the brink.
There was a lot of bribery and corruption going on, because the fact was that the moment they opened up all these things, these were converted from agriculture land to revenue land, and buildings started coming up without any plan at all. Many of these buildings, these fancy buildings, were located in the valleys below, which were agricultural lands, and there was a natural flow of water that was going there. Worse, they blocked the drains and they breached the lakes. Bangalore was considered a city of lakes. At one time when I was there, it had close to 1,000 lakes. Today it has only 200 lakes.
Now take a closer look at the city planning, or the lack of it. Bengaluru stands on a ridge. Rainwater flows into the valley below where centuries-old man-made lakes once flowed. These lakes are interconnected through stormwater drains. Now many of these lakes have disappeared or become smaller due to the construction of them over the past decades. Stormwater drains too are blocked due to poorly planned construction and maintenance. So when it rains heavily, water has nowhere to go.
Public-private partnership. Bangalore is a fantastic city in terms of technologists, has some of the brightest brains in the country. If they combine with government, they can do wonders to change the city. So rather than each of them work in silos, if the citizens come forward and the government is amenable, a lot of these civic issues can be sorted out, and there could be a camaraderie in terms of the way that Bangalore should grow.
And this is what we get. A city hurtling towards more disasters.
The beauty of Bengaluru has been ruined by several issues. Growing population, lack of proper administration, construction boom, but some might even argue that number one problem on top of all of this is corruption. Nagarjun Dwarkanath for India Today.
Let's explain to you, based on what, in fact, our magazine team also found on the ground, based on detailed analysis, why this is happening to the city of Bengaluru. Why does it sink every time with the smallest of downpours? Number one, you have to look at how naturally the city of Bengaluru is. The ridge factor is what we've called it. The city lies on a ridge. So the rainfall, essentially all the water flows into the valley below. Naturally, if you look at Bengaluru, it was known as the city of lakes. So earlier, rainfall was never a problem because the water would naturally drain into the lakes. Most of these lakes have been breached, so much so that Bengaluru had 1,000 lakes. That numbers dwindled down to 200 lakes. All of this to allow mass construction, permits being given left, right and centre without any thought. Blocked stormwater drains. Drains is in fact called Rajakaluwese in Bengaluru in Kannada. And this is something that's discussed very often about how, because of corruption, the construction of these stormwater drains is so poor, completely unscientific, and in many cases also very poorly maintained, which means the water has no way to drain off. Most of these drains are completely blocked. Then there's the point of sanctions being given, which I mentioned, ad hoc sanctions being granted, buildings being constructed on agricultural land, completely unscientific with zero thought being put into the same. There's also one factor. We must be fair and consider the fact that there's been extreme rainfall that's also hit Bengaluru in the last many months. The state has suffered a loss of 225 crores this year alone. And that was because of flooding, that was because of waterlogging, because you've seen it also happen on the Old Ring Road, which is where most of your tech hubs are. And this flooding caused huge losses in these areas. I want to take this across now to some Bengalurians for them to tell you firsthand what their experience is in the city right now. Harish Bijur, brand strategist, is joining us this evening. We also have Meghna Girish, an activist, a Bengalurian, also the very proud mother of Major Akshay Girish. Good evening to both of you. Harish Bijur, if I can begin with you. You're someone who's lived in Bangalore. We've had you many times here on India Today when there's been heavy rains in the city, when we've spoken about potholes in the city. Today we're trying to address what are the number of factors that's led to the civic mess in Bengaluru. To you, if you had to list out 3 factors, what would they be? Harish, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, I keep saying that, rain is the ultimate auditor for any particular city. Once it rains, I mean, roads are tested, public infra is tested. And when it pours, like it has now, I think that's the ultimate reveal. And that's exactly what's happened. Our shoddy planning has come to the fore. And I think, if you ask me who done it, because the India Today story seems to be asking that question. It's literally a who done it. Who done it? Every successive government did it. Somnolence of the people did it. Lack of wanting to question issues did it. Lack of participative governance did it. Every short-sighted band-aid solution, that did it. Every city cynic did it. And at the end of the day, a lack of planning big is the entire issue as far as Bengaluru is concerned. We have thought small for Bengaluru. Yeah. When it comes to national issues, we plan very big. In fact, PM Modi is planning very big things for this country at the national level when it comes to infra. At the city level, the same attitude needs to come in, and our state governments need to take the first step.
I think it's the basic infrastructure that's let Bengaluru down essentially. The fact that you saw this huge population boom and simply nothing done to address that at the same time. A lack of planning, as you said, Harish Bijur. Meghna Girish, good evening. What do you make of what's happening in your city? And how have you seen the city really change? We put out a cover of the India Today magazine from 1983 when Bengaluru was referred to as the boom city to now. How to ruin India's best city?
I agree with Harish. Everybody's done it. In some way, I think every government is responsible, and so is the entire builder lobby, which has gone around building on lake beds and using various whatever pile foundation. Bengaluru, was never really meant for this kind of boom. If you look at how Bengaluru used to be, once upon a time it used to be called a pensioner's paradise. Then it became this very boom city. Yeah. But the infrastructure never kept pace with the kind of development that has happened or that the city has seen. It's always been a struggle to try and keep up to it. But I'm really sorry to see that not enough has been done in terms of infrastructure to keep up with the way the city has grown. Every little village around, like right now the airport is in Devanhalli. We've moved out from the main city, which was Koramangala, to the outskirts, which is close to the airport. Correct. But right now this area is also developing equally fast. Right now we've not been affected at all by these by the waterlogging, because there are open fields and there are there's enough place for the water to go away. But what's going to happen 5 or 10 years from now? That is the question. If steps are not taken very seriously by planners and by the various infrastructure projects that are coming up, I must say a lot is happening in terms of like connectivity. You know, the metro is going everywhere. There are a lot of ring roads, outer ring roads, but still there's something seriously lacking, and everybody is responsible. Everyone's responsible. You can't build over lake beds and stormwater drains and not expect this
Very
kind of
true.
thing to happen.
You know, people should have seen this coming, that this would be the price you pay for blatant corruption in almost every deal, in almost every planning and sanction that was done in the city of Bengaluru. But Harish, I want to understand, do you think we've reached a point of no return? Is there no way this can actually be fixed in the city of Bengaluru? I think what was truly an eye-opener was the last downpour that Bengaluru had, where you had you know, locations like Yemlur, for example, which is considered to be one of the upscale parts of Bengaluru, completely washed out, completely flooded.
Yes, actually, I don't give up on the city, not yet. I think we have plenty to go for us. Important thing to do, one, I think we need to demagnetize Bengaluru. We have become too much of a magnet city. Everything is focused in this one city, and all the land of this city is being built up. And you know, on this ostentatious label, which is called development. Now, development in a very hollow terminology of saying, you know, chop the trees and put up these swanky, nice buildings, which will do wonderful things. Point number two is, I think we need to get back retro and worship our Raja Kaluves. Our Raja Kaluves are the arteries of this city, which actually take water from different levels and take it to the next level lakes and drain the entire city out. When you affect the drainage of the city, I think things can go awry. And I think we need to revamp and get our drainage back. At the end of the day, we write a self-fulfilling prophecy. We can correct the city even now by participative governance. I do believe city governance is just too important to be left to city planning bodies. I think we should have participative governance, and the people must be made, you know, to participate. And I think people are willing. We have the most civic-minded people in the country in Bengaluru.
Honestly, I feel there's no lack of that. I feel there's no lack of that in the city of Bengaluru, because I've always felt that citizens of the city have always spoken out very vocally about these issues. You know, very often, Meghna, Girish, we speak about the spirit of Mumbai. I truly believe the spirit of Bengaluru also needs to be celebrated to a large extent, because that essentially, to me, is what keeps the city up and running despite all of these civic problems. With elections around the corner, do you believe that a message should be sent across to political parties that this must be the #1 talking point? Corruption, this nexus that we see that's ruining Bengaluru.
I think the government of the day is already now aware, because citizen groups are very strong in Bangalore. They are very vocal, and at the same time they are very willing to get down there and work with the civic bodies to correct what needs to be done. So I think participatory, governance is the way forward. And I'm also not someone who gives up. I believe it's a great city. I'm a proud Bangalorean. I think whatever has gone wrong needs to be corrected, and it can be and it will be done. But yes, with elections coming around, I think, yes, the government will have to sit down and take more notice. And I do hope that things have already started happening. People are reclaiming the areas on which encroachments have been built. The Raja Kaluves and everything are well mapped out. And I think slow and steady, it can't be anymore. It will have to be prioritized in a way that we don't have this kind of a scenario in the next.
I think the first step, as you pointed out, also happened after the rainfall, when you saw encroachments being cleared. It's the basics. Clear up the Raja Kaluves, which are the stormwater drains known as Raja Kaluves in Karnataka. Ensure that, some of your lake beds are cleared up because they're so heavily encroached. Ensure there's a penalty on the ground, that nobody does that anymore, and we will perhaps see a change on the ground. Harish Bijur, Meghna Girish, thank you very much for joining me here on India Today. There's a new film that everyone's talking about, a new KGF, a new Pushpa. It's a Kannada film called Kantara, and it's now hit theatres in Hindi as well because of the craze, the following and the amazing reviews that this film got. We're going to be talking about this film. Joining me on this broadcast is filmmaker and actor Rishab Shetty, as well as actor Sapthami Gowda, both of whom have done a fabulous job in the movie and are receiving accolades all across. Rishab, I'd like to begin with you. Big congratulations. Did you expect this response?
Thank you so much. ये दो चीजें कभी भी नहीं था मेरे पास, जो एक्सपेक्टेशन एंड एक्साइटमेंट. सो ये मुझे लगा कि ये कॉन्सेप्ट लोगों को पसंद आएगा, लेकिन इतना बड़ा जो सक्सेस हो रहा है अभी, ये मैं एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था.
Sapthami, were you overwhelmed when you saw the kind of response? Because this film actually released about 2 weeks back in Kannada. It's because of the massive response that it got that now you are forced literally to dub it in Hindi and release it again.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is still very overwhelming, and then it's still, the feeling hasn't just sunk in yet. We're all very happy and we're proud that, you know, the movie is taking off this way and the people are loving it. So the amount of effort and the amount of love we put into it while making the movie is paying off. So it is overwhelming. At the same time, we're all very proud of it.
And I think it's so well deserved. You know, I feel so proud when I hear of these kind of movies. This year has been amazing for all of us, hasn't it? I started off talking about Pushpa. I started off talking about KGF, Bahubali. Rishab, your film is now in that same league.
तो इसलिए बोला था मैं, ये एक्सपेक्टेशन एक्साइटमेंट नहीं है मेरे करके.
So you see all the messages. Kicha Sudeep has messaged on this. So many people really. Prithvi Raj has put out a message also. Raj and DK, they appreciated your film. Many of them have come forward to say that this is one of the best films they've seen in years. How did it feel when you got these responses from so many veteran actors, filmmakers?
Feels good. मतलब ये अभी जो बॉलीवुड, टॉलीवुड, सैंडलवुड, ये सब था पहले. अभी जो इंडियन सिनेमा बन रहा है, सो इस जनरेशन में हम लोग वो एड्रेस कर रहे हैं. ये लैंग्वेज का बैरियर छोड़ के हमारा जो रीजनल रूटेड एक कहानी हम लोग बताया, तो वो दुनिया के सब लोग ऐसे ओपनली ले रहे हैं, सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं, वो लोग सक्सेस कर रहे हैं. एंड फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लाइक टू ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಆಡಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್. ಕನ್ನಡಿಗರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯ ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀವಿ, क्योंकि वो लोग इतना पब्लिसिटी किया, इतना माउथ पब्लिसिटी हुआ था, वाइल्ड फायर जैसा ऐसा स्प्रेड हो गया. सो उन लोगों के वजह से अभी हिंदी में भी रिलीज हो रहा है. नॉन कन्नड़ा लोगों को भी वो लोग सजेस्ट किया, लेके जाके पिक्चर दिखाए हैं. सो वो एक विचार मैं मेंशन करना चाहता हूँ. तो इसलिए इतना बड़ा रेस्पॉन्स मिल रहा है. एंड अभी जो बैरियर छोड़ के एक रीजनल रूटेड हमारा जो कल्चर क्या है, हमारा सिस्टम क्या है, हमारा बिलीफ क्या है, ये सब बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था एक फिल्म में लेके आने के लिए. सो वो भी मैं एक फोकलोर जैसा लेके आया था. जो कोस्टल कर्नाटक का जो रिचुअल है, जो दैवाराधने भूतकोला बोलते हैं हम लोग, शायद आप भी जानते हो. सो
No, so I wanted to ask you about that, Rishab. You're talking about these cultures, like the sentiments of Bhuta in coastal Karnataka, the sport of Kambala. How do you get Hindi audiences to connect with these cultures, these traditions? Can they understand that?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, it's a conflict between human and nature. So, मनुष्य और प्रकृति के बीच में जो संघर्ष है, वो बताने जा रहा हूँ मैं. So, प्रकृति और मनुष्य का बीच में जो ब्रिज है, वो हम दैव मानते हैं. सो वो एक एनर्जी, एक प्रकृति का बीच का जो पॉजिटिव एनर्जी है, वो हम लोग सोसाइटी का, एक समाज का एक समानता रूप में लेके आने का एक मैसेज भी है उसमें. सो आई ऑलवेज थॉट मोर रीजनल इज मोर यूनिवर्सल. सो अभी जो उधर का जो बैकड्रॉप में लिया, उधर का जो कल्चर, उधर का जो रिचुअल्स और बिलीफ, ये सब लेके आके मैं दुनिया को बता रहा हूँ. सो ये सारे यूनिवर्स कैसे लेते हैं करके, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ रिचुअल्स, ऐसा कुछ बिलीफ, ये हर जगह है. नॉट ओनली इन कोस्टल कर्नाटका. तरीका अलग है, जो प्रकार अलग है. सो भारत का हर कोने में, हर गांव में ऐसा कुछ रिचुअल्स रहेगा. सो हम लोग वो मानना पड़ता है कि हमारा लाइफस्टाइल भी वैसा है. सो इसलिए मुझे वो कॉन्फिडेंस था कि ये दुनिया में किधर भी जाओ, ये संघर्ष तो है.
And you know, I think what's great is that people now in many parts of the country will learn about coastal Karnataka. There are so many cultures and traditions that many of us have in our villages, in our towns, that people don't know about. I think this opens doors to what happens in coastal Karnataka, the beliefs there, the traditions there, and just a glimpse really into that. So hopefully it will get people thinking and more curious about it. Sapthami, what do you really, do you think stands out about the movie that it's grabbed so much attention and so much praise right now?
I think there's an underlying issue that we're trying to talk about in the movie, that is, the human and the encroachment issues. But it's being said in a way that everybody can connect with. Like, for example, there's every element in the movie that you would expect in any other movie. So there's there's humor. There's a lot of humor throughout the movie. There's a beautiful love story. There's a conflict that happens not only externally but within the characters as well. And each character is crafted so well. Like the character graph of each character, there's a justification to every character. And moreover, like, people are talking about the climax, and there's a beautiful climax that happens. And leading to that climax also, there are the way the culture is being used and shown around, just to bring out that issue that all of us have faced or seen in the world. I think these elements that we've used in the movie, I think people are going to connect with it. So these are the elements like humor, like I said.
Yeah.
So these elements help bring out the issue more in a better way.
If you look at the film industries, Rishab, there's a lot of talk right now about Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, Sandalwood also. And even if you look at the film industries in the South, it's always considered that, Mollywood, Collywood and Tollywood produces great cinema. Sandalwood doesn't do a great job in producing great films. Do you think that narrative at least is changing thanks to your film now, thanks to Vikrant Rona, thanks to KGF and KGF 2? Do you think finally that narrative is changing?
इस जनरेशन में हम ओके है करके हम सोच सकते हैं, लेकिन भारत चित्ररंग को अभी इंडियन फिल्म इंडस्ट्री को कन्नड़ा फिल्म इंडस्ट्री का कंट्रीब्यूशन बहुत बड़ा है. बहुत अच्छे महान कलाकार थे, डॉक्टर राजकुमार, डॉक्टर विष्णुवर्धन, शंकर नाग, उससे पहले भी बहुत सारे स्टार्स थे, बहुत अच्छे डायरेक्टर्स थे, पुट्टना कनगाल, शंकर नाग जी, बहुत सारे, इसीलिए ऐसा बहुत सारे लेजेंडरी फिल्म भी है. ये बहुत पुराने की बात है कि वो 30 इयर्स पहले इधर से लोग उधर जाके उधर आके कन्नड़ा फिल्म देख के उधर के राइट्स लेके आके रीमेक करते थे. सो उसके बाद बीच में कुछ हमारा कन्नड़ा इंडस्ट्री को मतलब उतना मेन स्ट्रीम नहीं था, इधर उधर अच्छे फिल्म आता था लेकिन कंसिडर नहीं करते थे. आज आफ्टर केजीएफ के बाद जो लिस्ट बोला आपने, हाँ. जो दूसरा तरीके से एक रास्ता खुला है. एंड लोग भी अभी ये आप बोला ना, ये भी सैंडलवुड, टॉलीवुड, मॉलीवुड, ये बॉलीवुड, ये सब छोड़ के इंडियन सिनेमा का रिकॉग्नाइज कर रहा है. अभी वो रीजनल कन्नड़ा का हम कंटेंट किया तो भी लैंग्वेज बैरियर छोड़ के हर जगह देख रहे हैं. वो एग्जांपल है, कन्नड़ा वर्जन हम लोग कांतारा रिलीज किए, सब जगह बहुत अच्छे से चला. बॉम्बे में बहुत कन्नड़ा लोग नॉन कन्नड़ा को लेके जाके पिक्चर दिखाए, उसके बाद वो लोग सजेस्ट कर रहे हैं. बहुत सारे ट्वीट्स पढ़ा था मैं. इधर भी शुरू हुआ 10 शो से, लेकिन 2 दिन के बाद 120 शोज हो गया था. दैट इज फर्स्ट स्ट्राइड रीजनल लैंग्वेज का एक फिल्म. मराठा मंदिर जैसा थिएटर में भी पिक्चर डाले हैं, बहुत अच्छा रेस्पॉन्स मिला है. So I think वो सब जा रहे हैं अभी, वो भी पूरे के पूरे मिलके इंडियन सिनेमा बन रहे हैं.
And I think it's all from word of mouth. It's all from social media.
Definitely.
And,
definitely.
I've read so much about this film. I can't wait to go watch it. Very sadly, I haven't seen it yet. But Rishab, you're saying yes, that right now cinema transcends boundaries, that it's so easily dubbed, it's put out in different languages, but there's a need to also recognize where it comes from, that this is originally a Kannada movie, and that pride also I'm sure you have somewhere.
Definitely, because मैं एक हमारा जो सॉइल का हमारा जो रीजनल और कोर कंटेंट मैं बता रहा हूँ, उसमें भी हमारा जो बिलीफ क्या है, हमारा जो कल्चर क्या है, जो ये सब मेरा वो एक रीजनल कंटेंट बता रहा हूँ. मेरा सोच था कि ये कन्नड़ा में भी जाना चाहिए, कन्नड़ा में भी लोग देखना चाहिए जो ओरिजिनल कंटेंट किधर से किया है करके. सो कौन सा लैंग्वेज का फिल्म है, किधर का स्टोरी है, ये सब जानना है. लेकिन वो कन्नड़ा ऑडियंस ने इतना प्यार दिया, इतना सपोर्ट किया, वो फिल्म वैसा ही जा रहा है, उसके पीछे हम लोग जा रहे हैं. सो ये प्लान भी नहीं था थिएट्रिकल डब करके हिंदी में इतना डिमांड आएगा. होम्बाड़े फिल्म्स जो उतना बड़ा प्रोडक्शन हाउस, उतना सॉलिड रख के इधर अनिल तदानी जी भी ज्वाइन हो गए. उसके बाद जो नॉर्थ इंडिया में हिंदी का 2500 स्क्रीन्स में डाल रहा है, सो सब जगह अच्छा रेस्पॉन्स मिल रहा है. क्रिटिक्स का भी एक शो थे, उधर भी बहुत अच्छा रेस्पॉन्स मिला. इट्स वेरी हैप्पी टू सी दैट.
You know, there are many stars who've decided now to move to the Hindi film industry. There are many from the Telugu industry also who have moved. Sapthami, a bit of a controversial question. Why do you think that movies, Telugu movies, Kannada movies, Malayalam, Tamil, all of them seem to be doing much better than Hindi films?
Like you said, it's a very, even perspectives matter that way. I think people, like, for example, people are now open to every kind of movies. For example, Parasite, that won at the Oscars last year, was put out in Korean. It was a Korean movie. It was put out in that language, but it still did very well across even our nation. So I think when you're trying to, I think we should never let go of our roots, and when you bring that out, when you bring that essence out, people are connecting more to it. So I'm sure, for example, in Mumbai, Ganesh Chaturthi is such a big festival here. So if there are stories around that and people bring out those stories, I think even the Mumbai audience or even down the south, people will be more willing to watch it. And it's not that Bollywood movies aren't doing well. Like, for example, recently Gangubai did really well even down south.
Yeah.
So I like Sir said, now there's no language barrier as such, and people are waiting to watch good content. So even the audience perspectives have changed now. It's not just the language. If
you're right. I think language is no longer a problem, right?
Yeah.
You either see it dubbed, you see it with subtitles, so everyone gets to see all content. But the question is, Rishab, why is it that the Hindi film industry is not able to produce as good content as many of the filmmakers, like S.S. Rajamouli, like yourself, like so many others that I can name here? At the end of the day, you look at Hindi films and compare them to a Bahubali, to a KGF, to a Kantara, they're not matching up. Why is it that content that's coming in from the South film industry seem to be much better right now? Would you agree at least it's better?
Yes, cycle. I think it's a circle. ये season जैसा आम का season, बनाना का season ऐसा वो चलते रहता है. उसमें कोई ये नहीं है, क्योंकि इंडियन फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में हिंदी फिल्म का जो बहुत बड़ा कंट्रीब्यूशन है, जमाने से हम लोग देख के आ रहे थे. ये हिंदी फिल्म जो स्केल, जो स्टोरीज देखते थे हम लोग, बहुत अच्छे अच्छे बड़े बड़े लेजेंडरी कलाकार है, बहुत अच्छे अच्छे लेजेंडरी डायरेक्टर्स भी है इधर. आई थिंक ये तो हर इंडस्ट्री में ये प्रॉब्लम था. मतलब अभी कन्नड़ा ऐसा कर रहा है, इससे पहले 10 साल पहले हमको ज्यादा मानते नहीं थे. तेलुगु का भी डाउनफॉल था. अप्स एंड डाउन्स आर देयर. तो वो हम क्या है ना, एक सक्सेस आ गया तो ये मन में लेके हम इधर रख के ये सक्सेस किया हम लोग, ये करते हो करते नहीं. फेलियर भी वैसा ही आता है. ठीक है, दोनों हम इक्वली लेना है. आई थिंक इधर का जो फिल्म मेकर्स है, ये हिंदी सिर्फ एक स्टेट नहीं है, पूरे नॉर्थ इंडिया में बहुत सारे जगह हिंदी बोलने वाले लोग हैं, हिंदी समझते हैं. उधर का भी जो रूट्स का जो कोर कंटेंट लेके आके ये लोग मतलब प्रेजेंट किया, तो फिल्म बनाया तो लोग डेफिनेटली देखते हैं. उसमें कोई ये नहीं है.
No, if I were to give you an example, see, very often when I spoke to a lot of experts about this, they said that it's because these filmmakers go into issues that are very close to people's hearts, traditions, cultures, like your film also, and does justice to it. So you see a latest Hindi film trailer that's come out with Prabhas, Adipurush. And it's about the epic Ramayana. So it's a story that we all know, we hold very dearly. But a film like that, if it was done in the South, would be hailed. Now in the film industry, in the Hindi film industry, there's a lot of questions, a lot of controversy over it, because they're saying that Ravan is being portrayed in this way and that way. So do you think that there's a lot more controversy in the Hindi film industry unnecessarily?
नहीं, हर जगह है ना वो कंट्रोवर्सीज. किधर नहीं है, हर जगह होता है. अभी क्या है ना, अभी सोशल मीडिया आने के बाद लोग उनका व्यूज एक्सप्रेस करते हैं. सो उनको क्या हो रहा है, कैसा लग रहा है, वो सब उन लोगों का पर्सपेक्टिव है. उसमें मेरा कमेंट्स नहीं है. जो हर जगह है, मतलब अभी सोशल मीडिया इतना ये है, उसमें इतना पॉजिटिव भी है, नेगेटिव भी है. लोग स्ट्रेट अवे एक्सप्रेस करते हैं. अभी फिल्म का जो देखने का जो पर्सपेक्टिव भी चेंज हो गया. लोग क्या है ना, अभी कभी भी मैं मानता हूँ बहुत ज्यादा अपडेटेड कौन है बोले तो वो ऑडियंस है. सो कौन अपडेट नहीं हुआ है, हम फिल्म मेकर्स और स्टोरी टेलर से, क्योंकि अभी ये मैं कांतारा किया, ये 1 साल का पुराना स्टोरी बता रहा हूँ आप लोगों को मैं। सो ये कुछ चीजें, कुछ सिनेमा बनते हैं, हम लोग 2 साल 3 साल लेते हैं, 3 साल का पुराना स्टोरी हम लोग अभी बता रहे हैं। अभी जो प्लेटफॉर्म से लोगों को, वो लोग ऐसा देख रहे हैं कि अभी अभी अपडेटेड वर्जन का कुछ वर्ल्ड सिनेमा, किसी दुनिया का किसी कोने का कुछ लैंग्वेज का फिल्म देख रहे हैं, तो वो लोग अपडेटेड है। अभी जो लोग फिल्म देख के रिव्यू करते हैं, कैसा है कि एडिट के पर्सपेक्टिव से, बीएफएक्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से, स्टोरी, नरेशन, स्क्रीन प्ले, डायलॉग्स, एवरीथिंग, परफॉर्मेंस, तो कॉस्ट्यूम्स, ईच एंड एवरी डिपार्टमेंट में वो लोग बात कर रहे हैं। सो मैं इसलिए, हमारा इंडियन सिनेमा का स्ट्रेंथ है, हमारा कोर, हमारा जो रूट्स है, हमारा जो कल्चर है, इसी को लेके आने का है। सो वो हम भूल नहीं सकते, भूलना नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि दूसरा लैंग्वेज का कुछ हम लोग देखते हैं, लाइक शायद वाइकिंग्स में जो बोलते हैं, उन लोगों का जो कल्चर दिखाते हैं, प्रॉपर हमारा इंडियन कल्चर जैसा है, उधर टेम्पल भी है, जो लोगों का रिचुअल भी वैसा ही है। सो हमारा मन में, अगर इंडिया छोड़ के बाहर गए तो एक ही तरीके से हमको सोचते हैं हम लोग, वैसा नहीं है। तो हमारा जो कोर क्या है, उधर जाना है, वो वैसा स्टोरी लेके आना चाहिए। हमारा जो सॉइल का जो स्टोरी है, वो लेके आना है। वो आपको किसी का प्लेटफॉर्म में भी नहीं देखने से मिलता है। वो सिर्फ आपका गांव का स्टोरी है, वो उधर के लेके आके दिया तो लोगों को पसंद आएगा। लोगों को, मतलब ये स्टोरी में नया नहीं है, मतलब हम क्या क्रिएट करते हैं, बोलते हैं हम लोग क्रिएट, वी कांट क्रिएट एनीथिंग। नेचर में सब कुछ है, दुनिया में सब कुछ है, हम लोग उधर से इन्फ्लुएंस होके, उधर से देख के वो हम रिक्रिएट करने के लिए ट्राई कर रहे हैं। आई थिंक दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट।
But Rishabh, with all this that's being talked about, and so many of your colleagues also venturing into Bollywood, is that the next step for you? Next Bollywood film?
No. I want to make films in Kannada.
Okay.
So
make in Kannada and dub in Hindi?
हाँ, वो अभी लोग इतना ओपन है, इतना प्यार दे रहे हैं। सो अगर हम कुछ नया कुछ बताए तो ओपनली ले रहे हैं। सो एंड वो क्यों, अभी कांतारा को इतना रिकॉग्निशन आ रहा है, हमको इधर लेके आके डब करके रिलीज करने के लिए इतना लोग का भी हेल्प है, पब्लिसिटी भी ऐसा कर रहा है। क्यों है कि मैं कन्नड़ा फिल्म इंडस्ट्री आया हूँ, उधर मुझे लाइफ मिला, मेरा कहानी बताने के लिए स्टेज मिला, मुझे सब कुछ दिया है कन्नड़ा फिल्म इंडस्ट्री। आई डोंट वांट टू डू दैट, आई वांट टू मेक फिल्म्स इन कन्नड़ा। सो सब कंटेंट, कुछ कंटेंट चीजें मैं लेके आके दुनिया को दूसरे लैंग्वेज में बोल सकता हूँ। कुछ चीजें लाइक लास्ट फिल्म विच आई हैव डन called सरकारी हिरिया प्राथमिक शाला कासरगोडु, it's about Kannada schools in a border area. Okay, that films can't dub in Hindi and other language.
Agreed.
क्योंकि एक केरला कर्नाटक का बॉर्डर में जो कन्नड़ा स्कूल है, गवर्नमेंट स्कूल, उधर का कुछ बताने जा रहा हूँ। उधर का जो लैंग्वेज पॉलिटिक्स क्या है उसके बारे में था, वो कन्नड़ा में ही देखना चाहिए।
100%. I'll agree with you. I'm very happy that you said that, because it makes me immensely proud that you're saying I will continue to make Kannada films as well. Sapthami, before I wrap this up,
I feel always proud. I'm Kannadiga.
100%. I'm sure you do, and it's shown clearly, not just in this movie, but in your answer just now when you said I will continue to make Kannada films. That's great to hear. Sapthami, before I wrap this up, your message to the audiences, for someone who's, going into the theatre with an open mind to watch Kantara, what would you tell them about the experience they're going to be witnessing?
You're going to have the best experience of your life when you're going to go watch Kantara. It's going to take you. So we've created a world for you called the world of Kantara. So you're going to experience the world of Kantara along with the characters. You're going to become one of the characters in the village, and you're going to experience the culture with us sitting at the theatres today. So you're going to 100% come out, be in that world, and when you come out of the theatres, you're going to be left, with the thought process and with an amazing climax too.
I think the reviews also largely speak for themselves. Rishab, final question from you as well. Your message to the audiences on what to expect from Kantara, and I also want to know from you, what's next?
वो पता नहीं, मोस्टली 2 महीने छुट्टी लेके बीवी बच्चों के साथ भाग जाऊं, तो 2 महीने के बाद सोचता हूँ। बहुत साल हो गया उन लोगों को टाइम नहीं दिया मैं। तो मैसेज या टेक अवे, you will experience a very beautiful positive energy in the film. So आपको एक हमारा जो कल्चर क्या है, हमारा रिचुअल क्या है, हमारा बिलीफ क्या है, जो हमारा जो भारतीय संस्कृति क्या है, ये रूटेड क्या है ये रीजनल रूटेड हम बोल रहे हैं, कोर बोल रहे हैं, क्या है ये? इसमें एक भगवान का जो शक्ति है, मतलब डेमी गॉड कहते हैं हम लोग, दैव पंजुर्ली, दैव गुलिका, वो हम मानते हैं। वो एक बहुत अच्छा एनर्जी। सो वो एक शूट करने समय में भी वही फील हो रहा था मुझे, एक शक्ति, एक एनर्जी मुझे प्रोटेक्ट जा रहा है। वही एनर्जी स्क्रीन में ट्रांसफर हो गया, वही एनर्जी स्क्रीन से ऑडियंस को ट्रांसफर हो गया। आई थिंक यू विल एक्सपीरियंस दैट।
Thank you so much, Rishab. Thank you, Sapthami. Congratulations again for the amazing response. I'm sure now when I'm speaking to you, you've already reached a high. Next week, you'll be reaching another high and another after that because of the great reviews and experiences that people are speaking about on social media about this film. Thank you so much for joining us here on India Today. To all of you watching this broadcast.
Thank you so much. That high is dangerous, so let's be in a ground.
For sure, remain grounded, and because of that, I'm hoping you both will join me very soon also. I'm sure once this film breaks all records very soon. To all of you watching this broadcast, watch this film, Kantara. It sends out a very important message. It's about our culture. It's about Indian traditions. And we all should be trying to learn more about every single part of the country. This one is about coastal Karnataka, and it's an unmissable story. Thank you very much for joining us here on India Today.